Welcome to Week 4 of Prospect Football Weekly, brought to you by Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm your host, Paul Evers, and I'm joined once again by Coach Mike Sebestyen. Coach, thanks for joining once again.
Paul, it's good to see you again.
So last week against Niles North, you guys had a great victory. What was the key to your guys' quick start? You guys had a dominating first quarter.
I think what helped dramatically was, our kids did a very nice job of kind of focusing in on little details right off the bat. We asked the question very much of them during the week of who are you, what are you about, what are you looking to do. So they focused on trying to make sure that they got off to a quick start. I thought defensively, we knew that they were going to take the ball right off the bat. Defense did a good job of, getting them off the field pretty quickly, putting the ball in the offense's hands, and the offense did a nice job of quickly, moving the ball down the field, scoring, and getting up early. And I think that early score, that initial start, was a big deal.
And then that early score and everything, that was a huge part because your guys' running game got off to a great start. What is the key to your team's running game, not only in that game, but going forward?
Well, I think, just executing our schemes, executing what we're asking the kids to do. I think recognition of what is in front of them defensively. Niles North did some different things in an attempt to try to obviously take away some of our option game. So you need a good amount of senior leadership on your offensive line. That starts with Billy Matzik. Billy's a 3-year varsity starter. Did a great job in the game of recognizing what was in front. Making sure we were calling out different things, making sure that guys all the way up and down the line knew what they were doing in terms of scheme, and making sure that we were executing. And then, the backs running hard. I think that becomes a big deal. And then, on top of that, when we get on the edge, our receivers did a very nice job in that game blocking. So it's a collective effort to be successful running the football.
Now, you had 3 kids rush for over 100 yards between Michael Shafis, Brandon Honori, and Andrew Shafis. Mm-hmm. How is that possible? That's a lot of carries to give around and a lot of yards to get for those.
Well, I think, what's funny is it really wasn't that many carries. Between the 3 of them, I think they carried the ball a grand total of only about 34 times. And between the 3 of them, they ran for about 430 yards. We only had about 50 plays of offense the entire game. They were scoring at big, or we were scoring pretty quickly and getting big chunks. So I think the bigger thing was the fact that our offense did a very good job of being efficient in what they were doing. But it comes back to our offensive line play. Our offensive line did a very nice job of getting off the ball, creating the seams that were necessary. And you'll see later when you see Alex, when you have a 6'7" kid, a 6'5" kid, and a 6'3" kid on your offensive line, and then your 2 running backs, Honori goes probably about 5'8", Michael is a little bit taller, about 5'11", but when we put Stu and Dante in too, you're talking about 5'8", 5'7" kids. They get lost in there. So to be able to create that, that seam, move level 1, and get ourselves going is a big deal.
How was your defense able to keep Niles North in check? Obviously, the offense played great, but Niles North did not score much in that game.
No, I think we were again a little bit more disciplined in playing as a unit. We talked about that on the show last week that we needed to play as a unit better than we did against Barrington. And I thought our kids did that. I thought defensively, we played within our scheme. We kept it very simple, allowed them to be fast and move to the ball, and then we swarmed very well. I was very happy with how we had 6, 7, 8 guys to the ball every play, and I think that was a big deal to our defense, not allowing extra yards on a run.
And what do you think is the biggest accomplishment from last week's game?
I think at this point, just the biggest accomplishment is the simple fact that we've given ourselves an opportunity to move forward and grow as a team as we get ready for Week 4. We put ourselves in a situation where we can have some more momentum rolling into the MSL East. We have a very tough game coming forward, so we needed to have a really smart week, a bounce-back week after what happened against Barrington. Obviously a very good football team as we saw against us, and then with their win over Maine South here. So I think that was the biggest thing, the accomplishment of being able to bounce back, to focus back on the task at hand and respond to some adversity was, I think, a big deal. We're going to have to do that again, going forward now. Just because you won a game doesn't mean everything's fine. We've got a lot of work to do still.
Thank you, Coach. We'll bring you back on later to preview next week's game, the game against Glenbrook North. Coming up next is offensive lineman Alex Palczewski. We are now joined by offensive lineman Alex Palczewski. Alex, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
What is the key to the offensive line this year?
Well, the key for the offensive line is just to have the mentality to finish every play and to make sure that all of our backers and quarterbacks are protected. So that's how we're going to have success.
How are you guys able to create running lanes for the running backs when the defense is expecting you guys to run?
Well, like in the Niles North game, almost the entire time they had 7 or 8 guys on the line. But if we're just going to one side, that means there's only 3 or 4 guys. So it's a lot simpler. And also, when we have a bunch of 6'5", 6'6" kids, like we just have our Nori and Michael Shaffis, who are very small to us, just like hide behind us, and they're able to like scrape over.
And speaking of the running backs, what is it like to lead 3 guys towards 100 yards rushing? That's what you guys were able to achieve last week.
I mean, it's really nice. Like, I'm happy for all of them because they all get to run the ball a lot and score. So, yeah.
But who else is a key to how the offensive line performs other than yourself?
I think a big person that helps us is Coach Beischer, because every single, like, after a game, he always sits with us individually and, like, goes through the film and tells us, like, what we did wrong and what we did right. And he, like, goes back, like, a few years to show us clips of, like, people in the past doing what we need to do to make us better.
And what are your goals as you continue on this season?
My goals are just to keep on improving as an offensive lineman and just to have our entire offensive line group just to dominate.
All right. Thank you very much, Alex. We will be joined now by JV coach Lance Burmeister. Welcome back. I'm now here with JV football coach Lance Burmeister. Thank you very much for joining us, Coach.
No, you're welcome.
How has the JV team played so far this year?
Well, so far this year, you catch me at a good time. We had a really good game the last game, and we've kind of had a little bit of a sandwich. Good game, not so good game, good game. But we're moving in the right direction. We're making a lot of progress, and we're doing a lot of good things.
Who are the key players on the team this season?
Well, that's a kind of a loaded question. You know, I'm sure if I don't mention every single guy on the team, the guys are going to give me some grief. So yeah, you usually go, to the guys that perform very well as far as score is concerned. And Jimmy Martin is our quarterback. He had a really big game last game. He's been running very well, but obviously he doesn't run well without the line. That's Tertel and Heiss and Cole, Camp, and who's my last guy? Who am I forgetting now? Tyler Zedeker. So they're doing a really good job. We have a back that also is our linebacker, Mike Sebestyen. He's done very well. A kid that's really come a long way recently is a safety. Jack Casimir has done a really nice job. Back there teaming up with him is Tyler Pricing. Defensively we've got 3 juniors that anchor our defensive line, led by Danny Larson, Ryan Cooch, and Tommy Morton. So, all those guys have been contributing. They've been doing a really good job of improving week to week. The thing that I like to see is I got to, coach some of the juniors last year. And to see them, move into roles where they're starters and team leaders has kind of been really, neat.
Then, hopefully we'll see some of those guys either varsity towards the end of this season or next year. Now, but for the guys that are on varsity now that used to play JV, what is it like watching them?
Well, this year's the first year that I've kind of had the opportunity that I have, because both classes I had as sophomores. And so getting to see them, getting to see both classes staying together, a lot of the guys that I coached on those teams are still on the team, which is really, good for the program. And so that's really, good to see. And, to see the growth in some players, like you're going to talk to a young man here a little bit later that if I showed some of the sophomore JV film on him, he probably wouldn't be too happy. But to see him now on film, he just pops. It is quite a huge improvement from where he was at. And, all the guys that were consistent performers, guys that, we kind of build the program around. Those are the guys that kind of are always there for us. The tough football players. To see them actually, on on the field Friday, how much they've improved, how much they've grown together as a team. Those two classes coming together, it's neat to see. I wouldn't say, I wouldn't be honest if I didn't say that I'm getting probably just as much enjoyment from watching them as I am coaching the JV team.
And then, you talk about enjoying coaching JV and watching the guys evolve into varsity players. What do you find most enjoyable at coaching the JV team?
Most enjoyable. The thing that really is making them into prospect varsity football players. That's kind of what I see as my challenge. Obviously, you'd like to win every game. That's something that you strive for. But in doing that, you want to make sure that you get as many guys involved, as many guys as feeling though they're part of it, as many guys to understand what that jump is going to be like, because it's a pretty big jump. You've gone from freshman football, where it's kind of enjoyable and maybe it's your first taste, to where it gets a little bit more competitive, a little bit more is asked out of you, and to challenge those guys to try to grow up, to mature, to become a part of our community where they're a contributing part. That's kind of what I'm in it for. That's kind of what I like about this level, and it really is challenging from week to week, because we really are here for the varsity team, and if something happens, and it has happened in years previous, that the varsity team has some obstacles that they need to overcome, and they dip down into our guys, well, then we've got to find. It's not like we go to the freshmen and dip down and take some of their guys. We need to prepare the kids that we have in order to step up and play. And I think the kids have done a really good job of stepping up in those opportunities. And I kind of like that about this level.
Great. Thank you very much, Coach. We will be right back with Coach Sebestyen to preview this Friday's game against Glenbrook North.
Good job. Could you just say the intro one more time? Like, hey, we're here with Coach Burmeister.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. That's it? We don't need to go over all the questions again? I did an okay job?
Yeah.
You did fine.
We're back with JV Coach Lance Burmeister. Burmeister, thank you very much for joining us.
That's no problem. Glad to be here.
All right. We are now back with Coach Sebestyen to preview this Friday night's game against Glenbrook North. How are you guys going to continue the success you guys have had in the running game last week?
I think we've got to continue to just execute basic schemes. Glenbrook North's got a very nice defense. They've played very well. Their starting defense has only given up, I think, 26 points in 3 games. They've worked very hard. They fly to the ball really well. So I think we've just got to stay basic to what we do, execute our schemes, and try to obviously continue to move the ball downhill. And at the same time, then also mix in our passing game. I think last week we would have thrown the ball more, but, it became very quick, where we were up, and it was unnecessary. I think we've got to be a little bit more balanced going forward this week.
Then Glenbrook North, they absolutely dominated its first 2 games, but then they won a close game against Hersey last week. How do you expect to match up against this team?
Well, I think it's a very good football program. We got a chance to see them in 2012. They're perennially contending for the CSL North title, 7-2, 8-1 type team. So they're a very good football team, well coached. I think it's a situation where they got out very fast in their first 2 games, played well. Even in game 3, they got out very well, and Hersey did a nice job coming back on them. So we've got our work cut out for ourselves. Obviously, at this point, we're going to Glenbrook North. We've got to play fast. Again this week, and I think the biggest thing is just making sure that we stay within ourselves, play within our units, really focus on doing our little things that we do well, and hopefully give ourselves a chance to be successful.
You spoke about starting out quick, but Glenbrook North's offense thrives on quick passes. How do you expect your defense to take care of that?
Well, I think we just got to play within, again, scheme. They like to get the ball on the edge a little bit and take advantage of mismatches. I think our corners are going to have to be very stout in terms of our pass protection pass defense this week. I think we've got to be able to do a good job of pursuing from inside out and have a great swarm to the ball, getting multiple people to the ball itself. I think all those are going to be vital elements as we go forward here this week. They get the ball on the edge. You've got to be moving quickly because they will burn you very fast. It's a good football team. And the quarterback's a very talented kid. He can put the ball on the edge. He can throw the ball deep. He can run the ball really well. So he's a multi-threat kid. We've got to be very stout, and we've got to play as a unit, play very sound football, and I think if we do that, we'll be okay.
In general, what do you think are going to be the keys to Friday night's game?
Well, I think it's the same keys that they were last week. We need all three phases playing together. I think we need all three groups playing as units. I think we need to make sure that we keep our heads about ourselves. There's going to be adversity in this game, as there was at times even in the game on Friday night. So we've got to make sure that we do a good job of continuing to stay very focused and consistent in what we do, stay within our schemes, and if we do that, I think we'll be okay.
And then, how important do you find this game to be before you head into the conference part of your schedule?
Well, I think the importance of the game is the fact that it's the game in front of us. You'd like to have momentum going into the MSL East. You'd like to get yourselves ready for that opportunity. But this is a very big team in front of us. They're a 3-0 team. This is an important measuring stick to see where we're at as a team overall. So I think this is the game we're focused on, this is the game we're worried about. And hopefully we can continue to build off what we did last week and continue to learn from what we did right and wrong last week.
Thank you, Coach. Now, we've had some great guests the last couple of weeks, and so I suggest you go back and watch last week's and even the previous week's shows if you haven't yet. Coach, who do you have lined up for next week?
Well, next week we've got a really great guest. Mr. Frank Mirandola, who's our assistant principal for student activities, is going to be in, and he's here to talk about a great cause. He's going to talk about the Unite for the Cure program, which is going to be running next week, and the game's on Friday night, looking at obviously breast cancer research and trying to raise money and funds in regards to that. So I think it's going to be a very important thing. And I know he's also going to talk about a really cool initiative that we're doing this year for homecoming called the One Prospect Gives Back Initiative. So I think he's going to be a great guest for us to talk with next week, and you get to learn a lot of the different things that obviously as a high school we do to give back to the community of Prospect and the Mount Prospect Arlington Heights area. So I would really suggest tuning in obviously next week to get a little bit of an understanding of the different things that the school is doing for us going forward. So it's going to be a really good time to hear Mr. Mirandola and hear what he has to say about the Unite for the Cure and the Prospect Gives Back initiatives.
All right. Thank you, Coach. Can't wait to do that. Can't wait to see you after another game.
Thank you, sir.
This has been Week 4 Prospect Football Weekly, sponsored by Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm your host, Paul Evers, and we will see you next week.